Hey, viewers or listeners, I'm Rob Olson, formerly of the Booked Podcast, and this is my brand new podcast. It's called The Arc Party, and just generally to sum it up, it is a podcast celebrating the release of upcoming books, where we talk to authors about the books, what it's about, and just generally have a fun time. I love promoting new books. I love getting the word out about books. I love authors reaching new audiences, and I want to do everything I can to support that. That's what this is all about. The new episode is with David James Keaton. We're kicking it off in a very huge and awesome episode, so please join me for that. And there's more to come. I've got so many books that I want to talk about this year, and I want to be your best resource for knowing what books are coming out and when. So join us at the party.
The last blockbuster video store in the United States is hanging on by a thread. And after a crazy night attempting to track down a lost VCR rental to collect the record-setting internet-famous late fee, 3 employees, idealistic Eva, cinephile Jerry, and their tyrannical manager Randy, discovered that this machine may actually have the power to change the endings of popular films, which, depending on the historical basis of the film, might also be changing the real world around. Or is it just an elaborate, increasingly deadly prank? I think that's probably sums it up.
Yeah. So it releases January 10th.
You can pre-order the book wherever you want. Audio's already out. Paperback comes out on the 31st. Kindle, I think, will probably come out in the next 2 weeks.
Rob, did you strategically put some Keaton books right behind you? Because that's really well done.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, like crap. Look at that.
Look at that.
Not only that, I can zoom in. Oh, hang on, that's up.
Oh, you guys are high tech. Look at that.
Yeah. They're not always there, David, so don't get...
I know. I figured.
You're fucking...
As soon as this goes off, he wipes it clear like a magician, pulling the fucking tablecloth out.
Rob, what's this show? This is not booked anymore, right? That's done.
Oh yeah, I guess I'll explain to you guys this is all going to be part of it, because this is the inaugural thing. This is the first one I'm doing.
Oh damn.
So yeah, booked. We wrapped up back in 2021. Yeah, 2021. I did a handful of things with Lit Reactor, and I just it just wasn't kind of doing for me what I wanted to. So I've been trying to think about what I want to do, and the thing I keep going back to is it feels weird that I don't have a way to promote people's upcoming books. Like, that was kind of what I got the most fun out of when I was doing Booked, was to find a way to kind of get like word of mouth support for people's books, because a lot of and the timeline is really tight with this one because it was kind of thrown together last minute, but like a lot of help is like the pre-orders and like the launch time orders and stuff like that. So that's where I kind of got the idea to do something, and so that's what this is going to be. I did some brainstorming. It's going to be called The Arc Party, because I'm trying to be more like lively and stuff. So like the idea is like celebrating the upcoming release of a book, so that's why the word party's in there.
I was like, Arc. I was like, the Arc of the Covenant. I was like, oh right, Arcs are called. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I wrote a book. I get it.
Yeah. So that's none of it's all set up. I registered a domain. I have to set it up. I have some social media stuff that I need to set up. I need like a logo and everything. But the whole idea is, you got a book that's about to come out. We're just going to talk about it and hopefully draw more attention to it and encourage people to get it. And then like another thing that I'm going to do, another aspect of it is going to be like a kind of a Substack thing where I'm constantly talking about, hey, I just found out about this book that just got announced or whatever, so that like there's a stream of people can be aware of books that have been announced or that had like launch dates and stuff. So that's kind of the general idea.
Yeah, sounds great, man. I would have went with like Readers of the Lost Ark, but I think your thing's probably better.
Oh, that might be.
Shit.
You can steal it. I don't care. I'm just saying. I'll never use it, but I'm just saying.
Shit, where were you? My girlfriend's a copywriter, and she helped me. She, like, anything I came up with was like 80 times dumber than.
Dude, if I was your girlfriend, you know how far ahead you'd be. Like, you don't even know.
Yeah, well,
if I was your girlfriend, it'd be first of all, that Prince song would be better for you. There's a lot of levels here.
But yeah, so yeah, that's what this is. And
Tony, if you were his girlfriend,
yeah,
would you make him put his clock higher?
That's like the lost verse from the song. I would.
Oh God,
what are you doing? We got somebody coming. Dave's coming. Come on.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just sitting on top of the shelf. I didn't want to mount it.
Oh, okay.
It's not hanging on the wall. It's stood on the shelf.
It's part of the Hannibal mindfuck.
That makes more sense and less sense. It's like
it's lazy decor. I didn't want to, actually put it up somewhere. It's not functional. I could turn it on. It's just not. The girlfriend was complaining about how loud it sounds when it's like actually the gears are working. So
Dave, where's your clock? So you're gonna knock on his clock. Where's your clock?
I'm glad you asked.
Uh-oh. This is where he's gonna freeze again because he's moving.
Oh, it's worth it. We gotta see this thing.
I'll take it.
Oh, Felix. Yeah. Love it.
Well, I can't.
So just so listeners know, there is a black Felix the cat type of clock with the eyes. It's beautiful. Tail's going nuts.
Oh, I froze again?
No, you're fine.
No, you're good.
Oh, that's right. This is going to be visual. I'm going to be stopping right thing.
No, actually, that's actually good that you did that. It's going to be like I'm going to YouTube out the video, but then I'm also going to podcast it. So There will be an audio only version. So you're just doing my heavy lifting over there.
That's what a girlfriend does.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to break the news to the former girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean that's cool. Via con Dios, it's cool.
We'll see if your experiment works.
Yeah, that's the hope. And then really honestly, what I hope is since I spent a decade making connections with different authors, I think that the premise of this is like positive enough and like easy enough to support that hopefully it's an easy thing to be like, hey, check this thing out. It's promoting upcoming books. I'm happy that this exists. And then you might get some crossover from different audiences or more awareness from like the word of mouth of different author audiences and stuff like that.
So are those going to be the leads? Are the leads your previous authors that you've had unbooked?
I mean, dude, I'm gonna leverage any fucking thing I can.
So that means X-Files man David Duchovny, your final, your holy grail interview should have head cleaner in his lap.
That guy. So I'll tell you a quick story about that. We had decided to end Booked as a podcast for a variety of reasons. And, but we hadn't really announced it. It was kind of a surprise. We just kind of dropped the final episode. And like a week before we recorded the final episode, Duchovny's manager contacted us because he had a new book out and he was like, hey, David wants to come on and talk. Let's work something out. And we're like, oh, well, so
gotta love that.
Yeah, we'll see what goes on. I could try to connect with the dude and see if anything comes of it.
Well, what you should say is, remember that episode of the X-Files, the whatever about forehead sweat.
Yeah,
if I got a book for you.
That's actually a great idea. Holy shit. All right. I'm not promising anything, but I will make an effort. I have his email address. I almost wore a Booked t-shirt for this, and then I was like, that's a little bit. So what I did instead, I wore a shirt. It's the only shirt I have that I think is a movie reference.
It's funny, when I saw the top of it, I thought it was like John Carpenter's The Thing on the computer. It's like Atari style. It's really pixelated. I was like, oh, did you get some crazy niche? Yeah.
Is that the fucking the little kid shit, the video gamey crap?
Yes, it is.
Some kid's name, right?
Scott Pilgrim versus the World, man.
That's it.
That's the band logo for the band Sex Bob-omb.
Yeah, great film.
I think pretty sure it's the only t-shirt that I own that's a movie reference. So I figured it was appropriate for this. Well,
Dave, you're not really a big Edgar Wright guy. You kind of you're always disappointed by his shit, right?
No, I think it's because of Shaun of the Dead came in so hot. It's such a perfect time that I thought it was so good. And then everything has been pretty good. Okay. and I don't think I've ever gotten that high again.
See, I think Hot Fuzz is my fave. I thought he actually
Yeah.
did like a good one too, and actually I like all his movies up until the last one. I was kind of let down by, but I could see what you're saying.
I'd agree with that. Hot Fuzz is probably the one that I go back to because I know Shaun of the Dead front and back.
Right.
Hot Fuzz has some surprises, but that one even seemed when I saw I saw them all in the theater. So I thought this seems a little long, or it seems like it's not as funny because Shaun of the Dead was so fucking funny. Like everything was just that movie's that's a perfect film, really.
Right.
That's honestly how I feel about Hot Fuzz. Is like you can't really pick it apart. It's fucking phenomenal, start to finish.
I love that one too.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to. I like the first half of World's End is hysterical. Just kind of runs out of gas.
I know. I dug it. That's the one where I actually got to meet them and for the press junket for that movie for World's End. So I got to do a round table and interview those guys.
Oh wow!
And that was really fun. And it was one of the things where I'm like, I like your movie. I didn't say it. I was like, but I think it's my least favorite of everything you've done. And because I was like, I'm not gonna fuck this up like right away. This is my first time meeting like a director or whatever. I'm gonna try to be cool about it. But
yeah, it's so weird that whatever I liked about those early movies, he seemed to develop a kind of a different style, and now that's kind of what he's known for. I guess those things were present in Shaun of the Dead, but it became like that. I call it like the Requiem for a Dream edits. Those like wow. And then that kind of stuff was not a big deal. If it was, I don't remember in Shaun of the Dead, but then in Baby Driver and what was the one right before that? Oh, the Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
It seemed like when has he become this kind of action guy? I don't know. He's good. I mean, that's the thing is that the bar was so high that I kept waiting for it to get back up there.
I like to think that in the head cleaner world, there's a version of us talking about Mick G the same way, with the same reverence. Like, he had so much promise, man. And then Mick G, I don't know what happened. Spread around Charlie's Angels 4.
Yeah.
Just kind of flipped the script.
Wasn't he heavily into directing music videos and stuff before? I think he got his start doing music videos.
Mick G,
yeah.
Yeah, I actually just recently rediscovered that he did a music video of Kirsten Dunst for Turning Japanese for inclusion into an art museum. So she sings a cover. They're in the middle of Japan. She's dressed like Sailor Moon with purple or blue hair. And I was like, why did this happen? And I read up. It's like, yeah, apparently they had some museum art thing and they asked him to do something. He asked Kirsten Dunst. She's like, I got this great idea. And that's what they did in like 2009 or something. Might be the best thing he's ever done, though. It's pretty fun looking.
I don't know that Charlie's Angels movie.
I remember. I liked Crispin Glover in it. Does anybody know that guy's real name?
Crispin Glover?
Mick G.
Oh.
Is Mick G Crispin Glover?
I'm pretty sure it's Glover.
Oh, you know what?
If Mick G was Crispin Glover, that would explain a lot.
Isn't the whole story of Crispin Glover though in that movie? He hated the scripts. He's like, I'm not gonna say any of this dialogue. I'll be in the film, and so they made his character mute.
Oh, I would love it. If that's not the case, I'm just going to choose to believe.
Right.
That's what I assumed happened with that Nicolas Cage one where he's stuck in the Chuck E. Cheese or whatever.
You're right. The Freddy's whatever we call it.
Yeah, doesn't he refuse to speak in that one too?
It makes a lot. I haven't seen it, but it makes a lot of sense.
Do you really want to know what Mick G's name is? Because I'm on Wikipedia right now.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Is it actually have a Mick in it, or is that just?
It does.
Okay.
Joseph McGinty Nickel. So the middle name is McGinty.
Oh, McGinty. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you would have kept it, then you had like a McGinty cutty thing when he cuts the films or edits them or something. There's somewhere to go there.
Yeah.
I feel like we demystified that. The magic is gone with McG.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I was hoping that's what they named him. That's what he was just destined for greatness.
No, that's a dumb like college roommate nickname, I'm sure that stuck. Dave. No, go ahead. To say my only other really like film reference that you can see is this clock right here. I don't know if you can make out what's going on, but it's
Is there a movie where clocks are hung way too low? What movie is that?
No. It's also not reading the right time because it's loud when it actually works. But it's from the TV show Hannibal, where they make him draw a clock and it's all fucked up.
Oh, that was
So
a good
it's the
part.
actual,
That was the best part of that show.
yeah, it's a fucked up clock.
I've got kind of this seemed to be the best place to film. When I do class, when I teach, I'm in my bedroom, but it's a horrible setup. But I've got a skylight, so it's washing everything out. So they gave me an excuse to wear this hat. This is the only time advertising has ever worked on me. I
almost bought that.
I see it in my Facebook feed. I've never bought anything, and I sent it to Amy, and I'm like, if you're going to give me something for Christmas, I don't know why this hat calls out to me. It's got the weathered trucker look to it. I didn't even remember that show very well. But there was something about this hat.
Same thing. It looks great. And I was like, I'm not really a fan of that show. I feel like a phony. And it's got like pre-battle damage. And I was like,
exactly.
Neat.
Oh, yeah.
Because like I would never buy jeans with the pre-rips thing. That just like blows my mind. That's a popular thing. But the hat, I was like, I can get away with this.
See, I went for it. And it's really, not only is it worn, it seems to be just stitched onto an old hat. Like the back of it, the back's like yellow. Like
Ooh, that's good.
Like it's
some
like a really old hat.
Weird upcycling.
But that's that's making me visible, because up here, I don't know if you can see, we've got the skylight just ruins the light for everything. I turned on the lights over there and it made things a lot worse. So
yeah, lighting, man.
You seem to have solved it. You guys seem to have solved it. So what did you do? You have lights facing you from, maybe I should get a flashlight.
I have rope lights on the ceiling right above me, running the length of the side of the wall. Or you could do that. You can get a flashlight. I also have
that looks great. Right
rope
there.
lights behind my
It's
shelf.
subtle enough, it doesn't draw attention to itself, but it's effective.
This kind of, hey, there I am.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's why when they're on movie sets, they're like, it's so hot. The lights are so hot. Let me try this.
The background, like painting, it's kind of a Santa Claus vibe going, because like the red and the green, it's working.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a little better. I'm learning in real time.
I'm wondering if he's frozen in real time too.
I think that was actually amazing that he said real time, that it froze right then. Like, You can't ask for anything better. Dave, you're back. That was uncanny. Yeah.
Accidental production value.
Right.
I've been having spotty internet stuff, so it would be my fucking luck that the first time I decide to record anything in forever.
So I got to quit moving around. Every time I move around, that happens.
Oh, okay. Are you recording from your flip phone?
This is a new computer. This is so sad. Real quick, can you hear me very well? I know the picture's shit, but
yeah.
Because I have a microphone I can plug in.
No, you're fine.
I think you sound good.
Yeah. I don't sound like muffled.
The thing I do miss, going back to our booked days growing up together, is like, the little like weird electronic cricket noise that always came out of you. And I don't like, to this day, it had to be something in your computer, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. It sounded like Tony will recognize in Blowout when he's got the little wristwatch that zzz,
yeah.
Zzz, it sounded exactly like that.
Yeah.
I could never troubleshoot what it was. But if I recorded anything, you could just hear it. That zzz, zzz, sounded like an electronic cricket.
If you guys want to talk about Head Cleaner?
Yeah.
We might as well talk about the book a little bit. Tony, you came up as someone who was an earlier reader of it. So were you?
Yeah, as in yesterday.
Today, yesterday, pretty early.
Earlier than most. So you've read the book?
I have not finished the book, but I have read. I've got an audiobook, so I think I'm, if not a little past halfway, maybe like 2/3 of the way. So I'll say this: unless you really bungle the ending, this might be. Well, I'll say this: I think it's like your most pop book. Like it's just kind of like feels like short and punchy and just like a fun ride, and like. There's not even a moment to kind of catch your breath in a good way. Like the hijinks and the weirdness just keep on like It's like the video like turned down for what, and I keep going through like the floors of the apartment building, and each chapter I'm like, what? Oh, what? It's like, and I'm like, holy shit! And so actually today, I listened to the audiobook mostly. I was waiting for my car windshield to get fixed, so I was walking around the rain in Massachusetts. I'm like kind of laughing to myself as strangers walk by because I have my headphones on. And like, oh, I know I look kind of homeless already. It's raining, and I'm doing this. I was like, this is worth it. I found like a parking structure to hide under for like the last hour, and I had a great time. So, I think it's and it's funny too. I think you sort of it's not a greatest hits of what you've done before, but there's like little elements I feel like from some of your other books and some of your stories. But it's like in a really cool synthesis of them, but it's also kind of its own thing. I feel like this is like the part of your career where you know what you're doing. You're kind of just playing, and it's like you're doing like you're gonna take a solo, like you're a guitarist, and you're like he's making this up a little bit as it goes along. It feels like, and we're here for him to play. Like watch him go up and down. Can he land this thing? So again, if you don't land the ending, I will be a little disappointed, but I'm in loving it.
Well, we should have a spoilers section. I think it'd be fun to ruin some stuff for Tony since he came in here into this arena, but also the ending is I take a couple chances. I don't know if they work. It is heading towards something that might not.
You said it's heading towards something that people might not, and then you froze up. So
that's some sweet suspense. I'm going to leave it.
I know. That might be better. Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think the ending, if anybody will appreciate, Tony will, but I don't know about general readers. And that's the thing I've never been able to really connect with. Maybe, I don't know. This is sort of an attempt for a more general audience. I don't know.
Well, I was going to say years ago, maybe just a year ago, I think it was before that, on social media, you talked about you were writing a book which you thought might have the potential to be like a little more conventional, but I think that actually became the guitar book and not this. Am I mistaken, or is that the book not even been released yet? The conventional book.
I'm just not going to answer a single question.
You're like the whole time.
You're like a button you're pushing that makes it look like you're frozen.
Well, I'm just free. I'm just going to, and I'm glad you asked that.
I actually thought for a second that it's real. That's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
But no, I think that I was probably talking about Head Cleaner when I was,
okay.
Because it was, I actually had somebody edit it. I had Nick Mamatas take a look at it. So we just got some really garbage internet going on, I guess.
Yeah, we'll make the best of it. It'll be fine. I'm a master editor after a decade of being in podcasting, so
that's true.
It's going to sound perfect.
I'll try not to move. That might help. And I'll try not to speak.
Well, then, I mean, it'll just be a lot of my opinions about stuff. So like you were talking about the ending, this doesn't spoil anything, but I was talking to my girlfriend about reading the book, and I was like, okay, I'm at the epilogue. And then she's like, are you still reading? And I'm like, there's like 5 chapters of this epilogue. Which I think is not common. I feel like epilogues are usually like a quick, like kind of button on the end, but it was like a whole section for David's book.
I was going to say, I don't know what epilogues mean exactly. But it's more of an afterthought. When Last Projector came out, my friend Sal was reading it, and he sent me an angry message, and he's like, you have 6 epilogues and they have car crashes in them. It's like, that's not an epilogue.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the epilogues, but it's all good.
Well, I don't know if Tony's at the gimmick yet. The idea that the characters think that they might be experiencing some sort of time travel situation.
No, yeah, I'm definitely past that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, can you fake that?
Right.
And is that, and if you are faking it, the experience is essentially the same anyway. That's the thesis.
Which was an awesome reveal, and I didn't expect that. I didn't see that coming because you had me buy so into like the time travel aspect of things that it was kind of unexpected.
That the same effects will spiral out from that situation. Not to say that it's not time travel. I don't even honestly, if that question is answered, I forgot, but it might be. I think it might be answered in like the last paragraph.
So, Dave, is the kernel of this like the idea of like how memory is faulty? Was that like just that ruminating on that, or what was like do you remember like the beginning of this?
Yeah, there was a short story I wrote for Lost Films that had that kind of gimmick in it with the idea of a VCR that if you kept rewinding it, ruining the tape, that the places where you're ruining the tape are actually affecting the film itself and not the physical tape. So that was kind of the gimmick, and that was just from being around old media and stuff. But yeah, the probably the biggest influence is Primer, which I've probably seen 50 times by now. And there's a moment in Primer where I thought something was happening, but it wasn't. The first time I saw it, they take the lid off the thing while they're working on it, and then the screen cuts to black, and then it jumps ahead, and it starts telling you all these things that are happening. And the first time I saw it, I thought that was some indication that was the moment when all these other timelines sprang from. Like by opening that box, I didn't know anything about the movie while I was watching it the first time, and I thought maybe there was some sort of temporal radiation came out of the box. And later I realized it's much more low tech and analog than that. But I thought it was like some sort of time distortion. Did I freeze on the words time distortion?
You
distortion,
did. Right? Mid distortion. Yeah.
So anyway, I became obsessed with my own misinterpretation of that movie. And if there was, and just, I don't know, it's kind of like what you're saying, Tony, the idea that just thinking about my misinformation about that movie, my confusion doesn't make it any less that experience of what I thought it was doing any less valid or real. And so I just started thinking about all those kinds of changes personal changes to films, personal memories of films that are not accurate, and how it doesn't matter. If you can if your memory is wrong, it's totally real to you. If the movie's based on real events, you've changed real events. You know what I'm saying? Like all this stuff is, you're infected by your bad memory, and then it'll affect everything else. So yeah, the book was based on my misremembering Primer, and I worked in at least 4-5 video stores or parts of record stores that were renting videos, those little video store annexes, and all of our misadventures are in there. So that's probably why it sounds so riffy and like I don't know, maybe a little bloggy, because it was just us hanging
It definitely
out.
feels like real anecdotes, a lot of the stuff, and like the sort of just like it's not really office dynamics. It's just retail dynamics. And I was a video clerk for 7 years. This all felt pretty real to me. My other question was, so I like to kind of take things apart a little bit. The title Head Cleaner, was that one of the first components? Because that's a great title, and it's really provocative. I just think makes you think of a million. Like this story could be this, or this could be that. Like when in the process did Head Cleaner become the title?
The original short story was called Flying Eraser Heads. And so when I started expanding on it, the short story is basically just they find the VCR and they get shot.
Oh,
and that was kind of the short story. So all of the rebooting, the kind of Groundhog Day-esque stuff, that was where I thought I can just look at this if I look at it from every character's point of view, then I can really have some fun with it, because it was mostly from Jerry's point of view, who this will be did we have a Kevin Smith reference earlier was that might have been in real life, but if you guys remember in Dogma, there's a really interesting aspect to the two angel characters. You guys pretty familiar with Dogma?
Yeah.
So what's fun about the two angels, that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, is that they switch personalities.
Yeah.
That by the end of Dogma, they're totally the angel of death is like, can we just dial things down here, guys? And the one who was like the kind-hearted one, he's like, they're gonna fucking pay. So it's fun to watch it's actually very cleverly plotted, that aspect of that movie, where they slowly become each other.
Yeah.
So that's essentially what happened, where I took the short story. I'd kind of wanted to punish the Jerry character, but I didn't have enough time to really flesh him out they're all supposed to be Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z. So I wanted to really give it to particular generations. And by expanding on it, I could have these characters trade characteristics. Literally by first, they swap shirts, they swap personalities. One becomes more sympathetic, hopefully, and one becomes less and less sympathetic, which is another thing that might not land depending on, I don't know where. Okay, great. Because I never know where a reader attaches themselves. And, there's always the crime of unlikable characters. And the one that I decide is unlikable gets punished. But there is a chance that one might be the likable character. So I can't even tell anymore. So
no, I think it was successful. Yeah. Yep.
So to answer the question, I wanted to reduce, the title was already long for the short story. And as everybody started to swap identities, and it started to balloon, I thought, well, the obvious move would be, I'm not going to make a sentence title. I don't like those titles. So I thought maybe if it's just one word or two words, and head cleaner seemed like the way to go. And then I started finding all these extra meanings even after I wrote the book. Like, it's, speaking of Hannibal, it's isn't that how he killed, when he has that guy tear his face off, he's like, would you like a popper? So
he gives him drugs. Yeah.
I guess that's a nickname for those poppers. But as far as like a psychologist as a head cleaner,
right,
and the fact that the head cleaner itself becomes like a possible antidote, which was not in the short story, which is really set itself up like just by playing with old media at the house. Like that's where all the ideas are coming from, basically.
So how long the short story is? What, 5 years ago when that was published? 4 years?
Oh yeah, at the time it was pre-pandemic, I guess, wasn't it?
So did you like pretty quickly go, I want to blow this up a little bit, or like did you sit on it for a little bit? Max Booth was doing he had Lost Signals, and then when he announced Lost Films, I thought that's a no-brainer. The last couple things I wrote had dead media trickery in them. Last Projector's full of tapes, cassette tapes, and Guitar Case has got some tapes in it, and videotapes and CDs. And so I thought, well, I want to be part of that. And so I did it as just a short story relatively quickly. And that I'm sure it was really obnoxious, because then I sent a message to Max and Lori and said, this thing is now 3 times as long as this short story. How much of this do you want to put in there? And Max is like, God damn it, give me the whole thing. So I was like, because we can go with whatever, but this thing is getting bigger and bigger. And he's like, just give me whatever you've got. And so it's essentially a novella at the end of that anthology. It still ends where it ends, but everything just kept expanding. And then when there was a year when I was working on a different book, and I thought, I've never been satisfied with where that story ended, because it seemed like there was so many other possibilities. And then whenever an anthology would come up and somebody would ask for a story, or like with the Dirty Boulevard one, it was easy to plug in. Like, I kept thinking about that. So that story in Dirty Boulevard is from that universe. It's the Facebook campus, like a fucked up version of the Facebook campus. So all that stuff started kind of like with Guitar Case and Last Projector. Everything I started working on after I wrote that short story seemed to be in the same world. So I just thought, well, I just got to glue it back together, because otherwise I'm just telling the further adventures of these, video store assholes. Why not just make it a big project? And so I expanded, and I thought I'll, see where it ends up. And it wrapped up much quicker than I thought. I thought there's going to be another
beefy book. And it turned out, because it was by nature, it's kind of redundant as far as it's like Rashomon. Here's the version of events through three people's eyes. There's no more cast, so I couldn't do another version of it.
Right.
And it seemed to wrap up in a natural way much quicker than I'm used to. So, and that might be part of what you're saying about it feeling like a pop book or a greatest hits. Like it's kind of like, here's another music reference for the, who's the band that did Starseed? What was that? Our Lady Peace. Do you guys remember Our Lady Peace?
The Canadian band? Yeah, vaguely. Yeah. I have. Yeah.
So Our Lady Peace had a big hit with Starseed, which was, if you heard it, you'd probably recognize it. So they had another hit, but the song was twice as long. And then they were asked in an interview, where do you get your ideas? And they said, it's weird. Like Starseed came out in about 20 minutes. And this other one that's a hit that sounds essentially like this. To be honest, it sounds kind of like the same song because they had a sound that they stuck with.
Yeah.
They said that took us months. And essentially there's no listener can discern the difference in quality between these two songs, but one of them was just like boink. And one of them was like, we're fussing over this and we're going to perfect this sound. And like, it sounds exactly like the other song.
Right.
So, anyway, I guess what I'm saying is this happened, frighteningly quick, but I think I think all the stuff is still there that I would have fussed over for another 4 or 5 years and made 600 pages out of. It seemed to wrap up in 3.
Jumping back to the title really quick. I think I was like 40 pages in and I messaged you. I said, the real head cleaner is the gun.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing from everything we've said is that's not the case.
Well, I mean,
I thought it was clever. I was like, if this is how it pans out, that would be a clever misdirect on the term head cleaner.
The head cleaner is whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
Rob.
Yeah.
I thought that in the intro, your description of the brains hitting the floor, very beautiful and really, I don't know, it was interesting. And then that part, that passage was really kind of stayed with me a little bit. But then later on, this is more just like a quick thing. I was like, oh yeah, it's a really fun way to put that. Like all the men in black cars, like the cop cars, the authority cars, and it's like a pack of orcas because black and white. And I was like, oh, that's great. Because, yeah, you see all those kind of cars and people in those black and white outfits. That's what it looks like, a pack of killer whales like descending on somebody.
Yeah, that opening, if anything, that was the part that was probably fussed over just because it was in the short story. And then when I revisited it, it's like I want to put some fucking metaphors in there and, just do some sentence level stuff, not just banter.
Right.
You're good at that though. Like, I re-listened to some of our, like the old live recordings of some of your stuff recently, Dave. And there's one from that ended up being in Last Projector, but it wasn't, when you did the reading with the porn actors and
the head breakfast.
Yeah. But the thing that there was you do this like sometimes in your writing where like this line is way too beautiful for the thing it's talking about because like it was when they all took their robes off, and I don't remember exactly how it's stated, but it's something like 4 robes fall with a gentle thud like snow off a rooftop or something like that. Yeah. And I'm like, that's fantastic. And so I'll tell someone about it and I'll just be like, for that though. So like you have a way of wording things in a beautiful and very like evocative way. And it's just funny that sometimes the subject maybe didn't earn like the level that you like brought it to. But yeah, like those little things jump out at me often when I'm reading your stuff.
That's fun. Yeah. The robes but it's kind of the big white fluffy robe kind of feels snow-like to me. So that one maybe suits it more than some of I think the brains were kind of like playing cards. That might've been a metaphor. I was really wanted it to work. And I don't know. It's like, you can kind of see the strings on when you fuss over something a little too much. My dad was listening to the to the audio tape. I sent him a copy of that because it's got a weird release where when they sold the audio rights, Blackstone puts it out much faster than the paperback because the paperback is wallowed in printing issues, apparently.
Yeah.
So the paperback got pushed back, but it already exists in this this narrated form. So I sent one to my dad because he's got bifocals and he never seems to read that much anymore. And I figured he'd listen to it. And he's been stuck on the first couple pages now for 2 weeks where he just keeps talking about, he's caught up in the narration, and he thinks, I think from what I've listened to it, that he does such an even keeled job of, even when it comes to the violent stuff, that I like that. But for my dad, he's like, he's not highlighting any of the violence, and I don't know what's important or not. And, there was describing this violent scene in such a complicated way that he's like, I keep going back and re-listening to it. And I'm like, oh no, he's never going to get off the metaphor of the braids and the playing card. Cause he's like, there's something there I need to analyze. It's like, but you don't.
I think the narrator is good. He does enough for the actual dialogue when you're kind of got to push in a little bit more. And yeah, I think they're doing a great job. I also noticed, like, right away, first intro, we have another Dave Keaton weird animal like sidekick. Like, this is great, but you do this a lot. Like, what's you just like love animals? You love weird animals? Like,
well, that's just based on it. We had a calico, and they have, they're polydactyl, so they have extra fingers. This calico
book taught me that.
What's that?
This book taught me that. I did not understand that.
It's crazy. And not only does
I met that cat.
You met Nell, yeah. Not only did Nell
met that cat.
Nell had extra 2 claws that were coming out here, so she had like 7 fingers.
I don't like that.
Yeah, so it's a little unsettling. So that's why it had to go into the book. There was a different cat that used to reach under and grab that spring and go doing, doing. So it's an amalgam of cats. It's all the cats I've known, but the calico, the freaky calico is real, and so it's more real than the critter and guitar case, which
right.
I don't even know what that is.
Well, I was one thing I thought was, is this the same cat through the whole book? Because I think that one of the things that I that happens when I read David's books is I start to question if I'm thinking about things the way that he would. And so I think I got in my head about the cat. I'm like, is this the same cat? There's enough like ambiguity about things where it could be just like a different cat gets in the mix, but it's just me fucking thinking about it too much. I was being your dad about the cat.
Rob, are you my dad?
And I'm his girlfriend, which is really common.
I was going to say, Tony's your stepmom, I guess. Like,
you got to put a ring on it. I don't want to pressure you, but we're not getting younger. I was going to say, you wrote a short story about this big bug, and then someone crushes it, and it was really pretty beautiful story, and like it's really a lot of heart to it, and especially for the subject matter, because I'm kind of freaked out by bugs. I'm trying to remember
that one. That was a big praying mantis. At a video, that was at a family video.
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly. So, like that story, I take this opportunity. That story is kind of every time I see a freaky bug, instead of trying to not that I stomp on them usually, but like I'm now like I'm like afraid you'll find out karmically. So I'm like just trying to be cool. I'm gonna walk away. I'm not gonna mess with you. I'm not gonna try to scream. I'm not disgusted by you, but I am. So you've changed me.
That's great. Well, I mean, surprise party. That's a surprise party for a bug, and that's a form of aggression. Stomping on the bug.
Yeah, I'd buy that. That's
a good point.
But yeah, that was based on video store adventures. There was a praying mantis out on the pillar. If you've ever seen a family video, they always have that weird glowing pillar in front of them. And there was a praying mantis sitting on there because it was a great place to catch bugs. And some there with his bag of tapes and smashed it, and which ruined my year essentially because I was just seething about that.
Right?
Like, why did you do that, you little fucker? So that's why he's in that story and punished. It's just wish fulfillment over and over again.
Sure.
I had actually, now that I think about it, I kind of forgot about it, but I had walked out of my apartment like a month ago, and there's just a dead praying mantis like right in front of my door. And I don't see a lot of praying mantis around here. I'm like just outside of Chicago. And it's just like, it was almost like it was presented like a neighborhood cat or something was like, here, this guy's going to really dig this bug. So yeah.
They're very unearthly with their they got the little cat head on them, and they're on birds where they're catching hummingbirds.
Oh Jesus!
At first, I thought you meant cats are weird with like their cat heads. I'm like, well, they got cat heads. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, no, like praying mantis has that little green cat head on them.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a series of videos where they're catching. They camp out at those hummingbird feeders and they just pull them in.
Jesus Christ!
And it's nothing you want to see.
Sure,
that's horrifying.
For some reason, YouTube thought you should check this out. It was tough. Luckily, the guy filming it, he flicked the bird free. He was filming it, and as soon as the bird started to squawk, he went and flicked it so it got away. And then a bunch of people in the comments were giving him shit about it. They're like, "That's nature. You interfered with nature." And he said, "Well, if it's nature, the praying mantis wandered into the backyard of an apex predator who disrupted the blah, 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 blah." So he's like, so I was part of nature. Plus, I made the bird feeder not to have this horror show outside my window every day.
Hey, I had
Oh, go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
I'm going to jump back to a different topic because I just thought of something. Because Tony mentioned the whole like memories thing, and we kind of had that. And I thought about why I was like, something was like bothering me. I'm like, I have a thought on this, but I don't know what it is. Did you guys watch the later seasons of the X-Files that came out like in the last handful of years?
Like I saw a couple episodes. There's one when Scully gets really sexy because there's a lizard man misremembering things, I think, that we're talking about.
Yeah. Not that episode, but
okay. That was good.
In the final season, there's an episode that it's all about the Mandela effect and kind of the conceit of the person who's behind the Mandela effect kind of thing in the episode. The guy's like, it doesn't matter. Like, if I change what everybody remembers to something else and you remember it, none of it matters. Like, it all boils down to like, who fucking cares? And so right. I wanted to know if either of you guys had seen that, because it's one of the, I can't remember the name of the person. There's a person who does like throughout the history of X-Files, like some of the better received episodes, and it's one of theirs. I just can't remember who it is.
Sounds like a great idea. What's the name of the episode?
The Lost Art of Forehead Sweat, and it's the final season. Yeah. And
so they were talking about Mandela effects back in the 90s, huh? I guess
no, this was
revival.
Yeah, this was season 11 that came out like in 2018 or whatever.
Twin Peaks,
2019
that shit, kind of. And
wow, I didn't even know that. I've only seen maybe 3 or 4 X-Files. That's probably not true. I probably watched the whole first season, but it was always on. But I wasn't all in on the mythology of it. I did like them. I remember liking them very much.
Yeah,
they were pretty corny back then. There'd be like a CGI fucking lizard monster slinking around the woods and stuff. Like it wasn't really like, is this real? We'll never know. It was like, no, there's a CGI thing out there. He was like, Scully was which Mulder? Mulder was always right. I thought it was going to be this debate, this ongoing debate between reality and it's like, no, he's always right. The thing is always real. Like,
well, that was the problem with the show, though, because like eventually you're like, why is Scully not believing? They've seen ghosts. They've seen, like, you just saw one last week.
Definitely watch that Lost Art of Forehead Sweat one, because like the beginning of that episode is Mulder just being like, everything that I was so excited about back in the day has all been disproved. It's all just lies. And he's just like, it doesn't fucking matter anymore. So it's like a commentary on a little bit of a commentary on that whole thing.
That reminds me of Spielberg. Go ahead, Tony.
No, I was going to say, this reminds me of Spielberg's whole thing about he doesn't really believe in aliens anymore. He's like, I was all about it in the 70s and the 80s, but he's like, at this point, everyone has so many cameras and just we haven't caught any definitive proof. He's like, I just don't think they're here. I was like, what? You're like the guy. You're like the big alien guy.
Yep. Yeah, that's what this that's I looked it up. There's a writer who did a bunch of X-Files episodes. His name is Darren Morgan. If you find a Darren Morgan episode of X-Files, it's gonna be fucking top notch. But like, it's that one, Tony, you were talking about was it's called Mulder and Scully Meet the Were-Lizard.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is this guy who's like a were-lizard actually is a lizard that got bit by a human and turns into a human. And the were-lizard's played by
The
Race
New Zealand
Darby.
guy.
Reese Darby. Yeah. So yeah, it's good.
So that episode, Rob, you're talking about, that sort of paying lip service to the complaint that Scully is never right. It's like saying that things have been debunked, and that's interesting. You've seen them all, right? You're a big fan.
Yeah, I've gone through the whole series.
Do they ever like Scooby Doo it? Do they ever have they're like, oh, it was so and so all along, or is it always supernatural?
That's kind of what the final season is trying to do, is kind of give closure to the kind of two different ideas. One being all of this supernatural shit is real, and the other being like it's all a lie or it's a government thing or whatever. And they try to resolve it. It's a little bit I don't know. I guess my answer is no. They don't really like they don't resolve it like in a satisfying way, but there's some cool stuff that happens in the very last episode that you're like, finally this motherfucker got what he deserved. So
that's like it reminds me of when Mamatas was helping me edit the book. When he was editing the book, the first draft, the first thing he sent me was a note that said, "Throw it out, start over."
Oh shit!
And I was like, God damn. Was that supposed to inspire me? But then he would have these notes in it where, when you're talking about finally at the end, you got some information that was tangible in that X-Files. He came to a point in the book where the characters were asking questions about what was happening to them, which that's the stuff I love. That's why I love Zodiac so much, because it's just people talking about with never coming to a conclusion. I just want to see people talking about stuff. Yeah. And so he put notes in the margin saying, we get to know what's going on here. We get to know. And so when things start to be revealed, maybe kind of hastily towards the end, he just put in all caps, finally, like, Jesus Christ, finally. So it sounds like the X-Files pulled a finally.
Did you follow his advice and throw it out and start all over again?
Hell, fuck no. I would never.
Yeah. Okay, good. I was going to be astonished. Like, holy shit, really? He just did it?
No. I'm risking the stability of this internet. Shake my head. No. I would never. I don't throw out anything. If there's something not working, I'll turn it into something else.
Right.
I don't understand these people. I see people say, I just cut 20,000 words from my work in progress. Well, you should be sent to Leavenworth, because no one should do that. Who told you to do that?
So is your approach more like, if this part's wrong, I add 15,000 words that contextualizes the other stuff. It makes it all make sense.
Yeah, it's from the theory of the characters can be wrong, man.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't have to. If the book's not wrong, the characters are wrong.
I'm picturing Dave making spaghetti sauce, and like he just dumps like way too much like salt. He's like, give me a potato. Give me 4 potatoes. 5 potatoes. It'll be fine. Dinner's 3 hours later.
It's like Always Sunny. We're going to need about 5 more cats to get the cat out of the wall.
Dave, rank your animal characters throughout your books. Because I think the pig iron horse is like number 1 for me. That the horse is the hole in its head, super cool. What's your ranking of these little guys?
Oh, I got to think of which ones have animals in them. I guess others. The first story I published that got actually a prorated payment was 9 cops killed for a goldfish cracker. So a goldfish was heavily featured in that.
Right.
But it had no real personality. I mean, it was, I would say, in the horse, like that whole book is, since I was trying to flip all the Western tropes, it's about hating horses, which people that don't like, I mean, people that like Westerns don't particularly like that.
Weird.
So yeah, I don't know. So the book, I mean, it sets that horse up to be pretty awesome, but everybody's just like so hateful towards their horses that it kind of rubbed off on me. There was an old website back in the early E-Bombs world days of the internet. It was called like I Hate Horses. Do you guys remember this?
No.
And it was just somebody ranting about they shit everywhere instead of putting they nail shoes to their feet. How stupid you have to be to have shoes nailed to your feet. They should they need to nail pants to its ass. It was just somebody screaming about horses.
Is this person you?
It was
Dave.
And it turns out last season of the X-Files, I hate horses. But yeah, so probably the creature in Guitar Case is most endearing because it's I think it's so indicative of all these other emotional moments, like, and it was based on an actual cat that I rescued. Rob knows all about that story. I won't return to it, but essentially it's based on a cat rescue situation, and it became like his touchstone. It was, if you guys have seen Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia,
yeah, awesome.
in the Sin City episode or section that Tarantino directed, the idea of having some sort of inanimate or dead or whatever thing in the car with you and talking to it the whole time is not new. But I'm just in love with that idea. And so that whatever the fuck it was becomes like a sounding board for some very emotional confessions. And that book is kind of a diary of my time in Louisville. So I spent a lot of time talking to that fake animal. Yeah. So I would probably say that one, and plus it's on the cover. It's a real highlight. The cat in the head cleaner is more of like I'm gonna say it, a catalyst, and less of a fully realized character.
Right. I like that.
Nice. I'm glad you included the goldfish from 9 Cops Killed in that book right there.
Oh, right there. Yeah, that's and Fish Bites Cop is obviously a reference to that story too. That was one that I always was going to expand into a novel. Where when I finished it, I thought, oh, man, I could keep going with that. I could keep killing cops. Why should there? Why stop with 9? Nine's a cursed number. Let's keep going.
9.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Rob Olson, cop killer.
Yeah. Well, no. Let's put that on the record. I've killed 0 cops.
Yeah.
We're your friends. You can tell us. Somebody do.
So, talking about other books, though, one of the things that's kind of a thing in Head Cleaner, especially kind of later on, is the idea of an electronic thing being the last one made, and somehow that imbues it with some sort of, specialness or something. Reading through the book, at some point, my mind just popped with the words, "The Last Projector." And I was like, fuck, do I have to rethink about this book? Or am I doing the Dave's dad thing again, where I'm just thinking too hard about it and he just likes the idea of the last stuff and it bled over?
Yeah, the last is it's like a talisman, right? Also, you're gonna like this. I found out very recently, you guys might already know this, the last VHS tape to be produced. Do you know which one it is?
No.
I stumbled onto this. I was looking for something else, and I came across an eBay listing that had ended, and it said, "Be a part of videotape history, the last produced VHS tape ever." And it's A History of Violence, the David Cronenberg movie.
Weird.
Isn't that
really
weird?
Yeah. Is that
it's 2003-ish or something like that?
Yeah, so it's the
Wait.
last. I guess they still make
Okay.
them overseas in different countries. There's VHS is still going, but as far as in North America, it's a really okay, pretty decent Cronenberg. But now it's taken on this mythological stat. Like I got to get a hold of that tape, and
Right.
I looked it up, and people are selling it for like $500. You can find one. It's tough to find them now, but I keep thinking like, how do I not have the last VHS tape? I didn't know that it was.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where would anybody be paying attention enough to know that that was the end?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, whereas with the VCR, that was on Wikipedia that particular VCR was the last one.
Yeah.
So.
I just thought of a kind of a head cleaner moment with a movie that is different than the way that I watched it. And I'm sure that I'm sure we've all got these, but this is the one that stands out in my head, and it's for kind of dumb but not dumb reasons. The movie Scarface was originally like a two VHS like thing. You had to play two tapes.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I watched it the first time. And I had been into this band called My Life with a Thrill Kill Cult. They're like a electronic kind of loungy band. I don't know if you're familiar with.
I was always surprised by what they sounded like with such an amazing
that name.
band name.
Yeah. So I can't remember, one of their songs has a sample in it it's just a guy saying, "I always wanted to be a movie star." And it just stuck in my head because I'd heard that song so much. Then I watched Scarface and I hear that line and I know for a fact, like, this is where that came from. This was sampled. I rewound it. I'm like, okay, I played again. And then the VHS kind of ceased to exist for a while. And then like eventually I think it came out on DVD, but there was this like gap of time where Scarface wasn't like readily available. And then so the next time I see it, I haven't watched Scarface a ton of times. It's just I'd seen it more than once. Once was VHS. Yeah, once was DVD. And that I always wanted to be a movie star sample is not in the current version of Scarface. So things changed. Like it's not there anymore.
You did that.
Yeah.
Dude, Scarface resonates. Like I had almost the identical experience that you did with I have probably seen Scarface. I would say probably at least as much as Primer. And that's a lot because it was always on. And it was, even though it was two tapes back in the day, I don't know if you guys remember, they did they re-recorded the soundtrack to make the gunshots louder because it became such a staple in the rap community. It became such a popular movie that it's like a lot of people that like rap music were renting it and saying, this doesn't have that extra thing I want. And so they went back and you can find versions of the DVD that say new soundtrack, louder action, and they just beefed up the gunshots. So anyway, that's crazy. That's like worse than Spielberg turning guns into walkie-talkies.
Yeah, De Palma was cool with that. All right, go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's so weird. I think that he's pretty cynical about the popularity of that and how it expanded. But anyway, so I knew that movie backwards and forwards, and then I was from the age where Grand Theft Auto was huge. Gen X loved Grand Theft Auto. And if you guys have played in the PlayStation 2, if you drive around, you can listen to the radio stations in it. And there's a radio station where all the songs are songs from Scarface. For some reason I had forgotten or I don't know. I didn't realize that all those things were in Scarface. So I went back to Scarface and I got to just see it through new eyes. I was like, this is like Grand Theft Auto. So I was like, I'm sure that's what younger generations do is they see things backwards. The reference becomes the thing, and then the thing it references becomes the reference. And so with Scarface, by going back and hearing all the Grand Theft Auto songs that I'd forgotten about, it's like, oh, this is what it's like to be a kid again. This is how they're experiencing it. But anyway.
No, you're totally right about the reference thing. Like all the old samurai movies, I watched them because of Star Wars and Western movies, like the spaghetti Westerns.
Right.
And so forever, even though I know the order of things, they to me are an offshoot of those movies in some emotional way, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. But Rob, with your
The
Scarface
famous
thing,
issue with the famous issue with John Carter is everybody said, it's just Star Wars.
right?
Yeah.
Well, yes, it is.
It's one of those things. It's like, like Dune, for instance. Like Dune, it sort of feels like Star Wars, and it feels like a bunch of things because like people pick the bones from it,
Right.
And it's like at the Mountains of Madness. At this point, if you make a movie of that,
It's the thing.
yeah, exactly. And it's like that's cool, but what can you do about that, really?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But real quick, Rob, with your Scarface thing, so
Yeah.
there's a version of Scarface you can't find that has a couple lines or something? Like it's out there? Or are you wrong?
Well, that's probably the best question to ask, and I don't know how to answer it. But yeah, the original time I watched it on those VHS, the line was in there, and then the next time I watched it when I was on DVD, that line did not exist. So
You might have watched, but they fucked with that soundtrack, so who knows?
Yeah,
it's one of those things where they
didn't.
Go ahead.
They didn't explicitly say that like this is a new edit. It was just on a new form of media. So I was expecting the same thing, and when it wasn't the same, I was like, I fucking know.
We could probably solve this. So this was a DVD.
Yeah.
Was the cover black and white or black and silver?
I'm sure it was black and white, but
that's the re-edit. That's the new beefed up soundtrack. The black and silver one is the one that was transferred from like videotape and laserdisc. But the one that's black and white that looks just like the American Gangster poster, essentially, is that's the new soundtrack where it's kind of like the loudness wars with music. They crank shit up. So maybe they did some trims, and maybe your line got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, they snuck in some edits or something.
And back to that, Dave. So you're telling me like enough people were like, yeah, these guns sound kind of wussy. Like we need some loud cut. They changed the fucking movie.
I guess. I remember looking at it in the store, and it was like new soundtrack, louder action, or something, some phrase like that.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
And and it is louder, which is I mean,
I want that for everything now. I want Beastmaster is pretty cool, but he's not that ripped. Can you get him some belts or something? Like, can we?
Now with oilier muscles.
Yeah, oilier muscles, the ferret 10 times cuter. What else can we beat? Crazy.
What? All right. What a beautiful reference. Like, I remember watching the shit out of Beastmaster when I was like a kid. And I've been so tempted so many times to rewatch it as an adult. But like, it's that thing where I'm like, I don't want the magic to like crumble in my mind. Like, I want to preserve it. But if it holds up, I'm watching that because like the thing I remember is these weird things that would like hug you and then like
turn you into goop.
Yeah,
I think I just discovered this recently on like I think the Tarantino podcast or some like movie podcast, but like the cinematographer is the same dude who did like Godfather, who did Beastmaster. and it's like that's not that many years apart, kinda. So it's like, what the shit happened to your career? And as a kid, I remember Rip Torn, his nose piece, he has a prosthetic nose, and I was like, that's the guy from the Larry Sanders? And my mom's like, yeah. I was like, no, he looks totally different, Mom. I was like, no, that's a fake nose. I'm like, they could do fake noses back then? She's like, you don't know anything. But the thing is, if you watch Beastmaster, that's cool. You gotta watch BM2. BM2 is where the men become boys. It's a time travel movie. Beastmaster comes to modern times. He's got like a Ferrari and shit.
Oh shit!
No, are you serious?
Does he have his panther with him?
I believe the only guys he brings are the two ferrets. I think the panther has to stay home. I could be wrong.
I recently learned that the world just keeps chipping away at the legacy of Beastmaster for poor Rob. But I recently learned there's no such thing as a panther. That there's a black leopards.
What?
A panther is not a thing. I swear I just read this. There's no such thing.
Are you telling me Wakanda is not forever? What the fuck are you saying?
I just read it somewhere. Unless I read that there's no such thing as no, it has to be a leopard. There's no such thing as a panther. It's a black leopard.
I can't tell if you're like man on the mooning me or is this
no, it's real. Somebody has. If only we had a device that could check. But there's no such thing as a panther.
That's kind of nuts.
That's all right.
And isn't that the famous case with Beastmaster that wasn't even black. They like spray painted it or something.
I love that. I hope it's a cinematographer from Godfather. It's like, it looks good better on camera, right? You get
yeah, they totally They painted some old leopard or something. They painted some carny and they paid him in cigarettes. He just walked around on all fours.
You got to get a white Dalmatian dog, continue the paint job, and then it looks like a leopard every time.
That's just movie magic. It's yeah, it's movie magic.
So within the book, within Head Cleaner, how many? I'm guessing like every time we talk about a movie and the changing of the ending, some of these are jokes. But some of these are these like your ideas, like how you would fix them? Because I know you like to fix things.
Yeah,
you know,
that was one of those things where.
Is this going to be your script doctor? Segment, but you're like invading MySpace.
It was one of those things where it was just a happy accident where they needed banter. They're at a video store, and there's like a meme going around where it says "fix a movie in one line."
Right.
And the book is essentially a very serious version of "fix a movie in one line," and it is like you said, some of them are just because it was funny. And some of them are script doctors. Some of them are just excuses to do Goodwill Hunting jokes. Most of them are. And the others are just an obsession, like a really deep obsession with the movie Black Sunday, which sadly is the same name as a Mario Bava movie classic.
Yeah, I was confused. Yeah, I was confused for like the first couple mentions. I was like, what?
There's a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I was like, there's no fucking like not even American. What? Okay.
Yeah, it's I was obsessed with that movie. When I was a little kid, I even had a Goodyear blimp toy because I'd seen that. It was one of those movies where they'd let me watch it too early.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know, are you guys familiar with the film?
I was not, no.
So just real quick, there's a sequence in it where the idea is somebody wants to blow up the Super Bowl. But a bomb isn't good enough in this creepy, weird movie. So they're going to blow it up. They're going to shoot millions of darts into like the faces of everyone at the Super Bowl. That's how they're going to kill them.
Jesus Christ.
Love it. So this guy's going to build this special bomb that's going to be in the basket of a Goodyear blimp. So it's like an inverted oval, just like a stadium. So if it lowers itself into the stadium, the spread will cover every face. Happens at a Super Bowl that the president's going to be there. So this is a way to kind of kill two birds with one stone. So as a rehearsal for it, because there's no way in this movie that was part of the criticisms of the movie is like people were a bunch of morbid freaks and they wanted to see that bomb go off as it's described. So to give the ghouls a taste, they have a rehearsal for it in the film and in the novel. This is the guy who wrote Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, Harris, yeah.
Yeah, so this is Harris's first novel. So there's a rehearsal for it in the novel where he takes a small version. He takes an airplane hangar and he just he puts it on like a rowboat. He puts the bomb and the darts in this rowboat. And then he has somebody he's just going to set it off and then he can look at all the holes in the airplane hangar where the sun comes through and he'll get an idea of whether it would work or not. He'll do the math. But then somebody comes by that kind of happens on what he's doing. And he's like, what are you doing out here? This is my property or something. And he's like, can you go stand in here? I'm taking pictures. It's a new special camera. And so both in the book and the movie, you get to see what would happen to everyone at the Super Bowl if this happened. And so anyway, long story short, I saw that way too young. And I was like, oh my God, because it was such a low-tech terrorist device, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? It wasn't just in the 80s, we were all, nukes were all on all our brains. So this was not a nuke. This was not the thing I was normally afraid of. This was a very tangible thing to get hit with all these darts. And so I kind of went down the rabbit hole as a little kid with that movie and with the book. And so in this novel, you get to change that. What the implications are that if you change something that has real footage in it, you're changing real footage. So you get kind of a Back to the Future too with it. If you, since it was real footage of a real Super Bowl, if you fuck with that, if they fuck with this movie, then they're going to fuck with a real event, which leads to, well, wait a minute. If we could, does that mean if we throw in JFK and freeze it,
right?
Et cetera? It's because JFK contains actual footage of the Zapruder film. And so it's an excuse to put real footage into the VCR in the easiest way possible. But I don't know if that answered the question. But Black Sunday was, or even if there was a question, but Black Sunday was just a huge obsession of mine.
No, it sounds really fun. I mean, it sounds
I'm trying
awesome.
to make Black Sunday happen. Everybody's got to re-experience that. It's a Frankenheimer movie. He was always kind of like he went in and fixed, made worse Island of Dr. Moreau, but he did The Manchurian Candidate, and he did a lot of weird 70s sort of paranoid exercises, right?
Right.
And Black Sunday was certainly a rehearsal for Silence of the Lambs as far as the bad guy. The bad guy that was some of the criticisms of the novel, was like, we spend a lot of time in the head of this crazy guy and it's not a lot of fun. And he must have took that to heart. He's like, what if we did that? And we did that with Hannibal, Rob's favorite person ever. What if we spent all our time with Hannibal Lecter? And he sort of corrected the ship there.
Does Bruce Dern play that guy?
He does. Bruce Dern plays the terrorist.
Right. All right, I like it. Because in Head Cleaner, you mentioned like he might be the same character in Burbs. Is that right? Yeah, which is great.
Absolutely.
That's another movie.
That fits pretty well. So yeah, Black Sunday.
Here's my thought. With Last Projector, if you have not seen the movie The Thing, you're at a serious disadvantage. And it sounds like for Head Cleaner, there is a little bit of watching that would facilitate a little bit of a different experience.
I would say,
accurate or no?
Honestly, no, because all it does is it makes them realize that the score of a real live Super Bowl game has changed, and that leads them to more important things. So it's not as interwoven as The Thing. I mean, Last Projector has its own rap songs and shit based on The Thing. Like the Thing love is deep. But with this one, you probably have to know more about, you'd have more fun if you knew about JFK or Any Given Sunday than Black Sunday, because those things are analyzed much more closely. Or Good Will Hunting.
Well, I also think that since you're talking about the different generations, Generation X and probably Generation Y are way more into making references to media and pop culture than, or at least I guess stuff they grew up with, So I'm sure hanging out with younger people, they're like, what do you even, all you do is talk about movies. Like that's all you got. And so it makes sense that like, it's okay to be like a little lost. You get the gist of it in the book.
Hopefully, like the Last Projector, I got to kind of indulge in that. There was just an assumption that everybody was the same way, and you're just I hope you like talking about movies. Where this one, the idea is that that they're not normal by doing it. So it is sort of an outsider perspective of their movie talk is showing their limitations, that they're that's what the Eva character recognizes there. And to her, they're kind of, it's kind of obnoxious. So, I don't necessarily believe that, but there's at least there's an in for people that are not movie junkies as far as that goes. That was the one thing that Mr. Throw It All Away, Mamatas, really enjoyed, was whenever the banter was happening, he would highlight it and say the banter's working really well. So that these sound like people. He would say these sound like people and not mouthpieces for the author, or something to that effect. Or maybe,
So, okay, Dave, do you get sick of people telling you your dialogue's good? Because your dialogue, I think you're a great dialogue.
I don't hear that a lot. I hear
really
a lot. There's a lot of I mean, if you go, I keep going back to Goodreads, and I probably shouldn't, but that was complaints with early books, is everybody sounds the same, everybody sounds like me or whatever. But
see, I think some people get hung up on like everyone should sound like real people, because the truth is, no, if you're reading a book, real people, like how many times have we said and said the wrong word, but we kind of get it. You don't want that. You want a stylist, which I think is, you're a great stylist of dialogue, and you have enough different voices, and maybe throughout your entire body of work there are certain voices you kind of go back to for different characters. But that to me is like, Scorsese using De Niro 10 times. It's just, that's that type of character. But I think your dialogue, like, it always has a great zip to it. There's a good there's a rhythm, there's cadence, there's the jokes land, and I'm always kind of I'm a little in awe of it. And I actually thought that people would always give you credit for it, and that you might be like, like when Tarantino did Kill Bill, he was like, oh, I wanted them to show people I can do more than just dialogue. I can do some action set pieces and this and this and that. But you're saying that some people actually don't even dig your dialogue.
I think that's some of the rejection letters I've gotten when I've made the mistake of trying to get agents.
Right.
That everybody sounds the same, overly negative. But this one maybe not so much. This one, because everybody is sort of representative of a certain generation, they're based on people I know and the way people talk. Probably the easiest one to write dialogue for was the sort of Milo libertarian, edgelordy kind of
the boss.
Yeah, the Randy character is representative of a couple gay guys I know who are just brutal when it comes to things that they don't like.
Right.
And so tackling that I thought, well, that's going to be, is that going to sound, am I going to invent, I don't know, stereotype for a particular sassy, mean gay guy? But it turns out, I mean, as Rob probably discovers as he reads along, is that character arguably goes through the most change. So it's kind of like you got to start with something it's like, oh, this person sucks. And then, so there is, because I spent time on what that guy would start out sounding like, which was kind of based on Milo, what is it, Yiannopoulos, whatever the fuck that guy's name is.
Right, yeah.
I mean, he was more in the spotlight when I started writing it. Mercifully, he's faded away.
Right.
But there is sort of his type. And I'm talking about the sort of delusional, hardcore right-winger hardliner it's more like, what's his name? Roy Cohn. It was there's sort of a self-hate and a destructive nature to him. There's that line in, Al Pacino plays him in, is it the Angels in America, the line where he's like, oh, I can't even think of it. I'm going to mangle it, and it's going to be one of those that I should definitely have it right if I'm going to say these words. Actually, I'm not going to say those words. I'm not going to give anyone any ammunition. Look at Al Pacino's portrayal of Roy Cohn is a lot of the basis for the video store owner. Can that character be redeemed?
Right.
Yeah. So those are more. I guess the point is they're less me, so maybe they're more. They wouldn't be susceptible to. Oh, you're just having the same guy telling jokes the whole time. It's just four versions of you. So maybe I sidestepped that a little more in this book.
I'd say that the different characters are pretty like realized as being their own separate kind of voices and stuff like that. Because I hadn't thought about it, so you guys started talking about it. But yes, I would say that none of them really sound alike. Jerry's uniquely Jerry. Randy's uniquely Randy. What's it, Bunny? Like they all have their own kind of.
Yeah, he's straight off the jacket. He's straight off the CKY tapes, Bunny.
And it works well. But do you typically have, so the book has, let's see, so there's the three main characters, and then there's like a couple of secondary characters, which are what's her name? The
Tegan.
Thank you, Tegan. And the other dude that I didn't mention a second ago it's Bunny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then there's the tertiary characters, which are like maybe an agent or whatever, that kind of thing. Which collectors, is that what the title that was given to them or something like that?
Where they're stashing the last representation of each media object. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
I feel like do you often have like that many consistent, like that big of a kind of main group of characters?
No, this was probably a pretty big, even though it's the point of view, third person point of view attached of these three main people that kind of Rashomoned up. Ironically, that made a bigger cast and it made it easier to make them distinct because they were retelling the story sort of in a way.
Yeah.
Kind of. Not really. Never mind. but the people that were I wanted the video store to be populated. It's been a real problem pandemic wise, as far as Netflix movies are a real victim of this, is underpopulated films, underpopulated series, where you get two or three people and they're clearly dealing with pandemic limitations.
Yeah.
But then they realize, it's kind of like with bad CGI. Somewhere along the way, people realize, well, you don't need to have a David Lean sort of set piece with 1,000 extras. Nobody even wants that anymore. So the people have, even now that sets are back open, something like Glass Onion is a good example of a ridiculously underpopulated movie. It seems on the surface level that it's big, it's shiny, and it's full of something. It's full of something, but it's not populated. It's got about 5 people and they're stuck in a shiny room. And if you look at that guy's previous movies where he had a tenth of the budget, like The Brothers Bloom was a caper movie that he did that felt hugely realized. It was like it was kind of his Wes Anderson movie. So it gets some shit for that. But it's certainly, just by not being limited by all that Netflix money, where you got these big gross sets and CGI in Glass Onion, like it just doesn't. And Knives Out seems like a whole different world. So anyway, I wanted it to be populated, even though it was video store based, and there is some redundancy to the plot where they seem to be are they in a video store? Are they in a video store within another building? Like they're pretty inert in some ways. But I wanted to blow that open. The skate park became a focus, and
Facebook.
The Facebook campus became something that could kind of open it up. So all those things needed a representative. So Facebook campus has Stacy with an I, becomes a pretty important character, and Bunny is the skateboard guy. So all these places that, if it's not just going to be stuck in the video store or stuck in the video store within the building, then these other places need their ambassador, and those characters they got to have a good supporting role, or I thought they got to have their say. Each of them had a moment.
Right. I'm guessing that you in general enjoy writing dialogue. It feels like you're having a lot of fun, mostly not even just for funny exchanges, but just in general, just passing the ball back and forth between a couple of people. For
sure, but I think that it's to blame for books ballooning up pretty big, because to try to make it sound like a real conversation, it gets kind of, I don't want to say it gets kind of mammety, because that's the opposite of a real conversation, but there is this like kind of redundancy of what? You said this? Wait, huh? Who? I think those things are important to keep it, to get at that groove going, but that groove eats up a page really fast.
Yeah.
But then that shows how little I know, because I much prefer a nice brick of text that slows shit down. One brick of text page, it takes people a lot longer than 10 pages of just dialogue. So it's like it's an illusion of, people are complaining about the last book being too big, and it's not. If you read it, there's just so many conversations that it burns right past. Like it goes by so much faster than much smaller things I've written. But people would never know that because it looks like a brick. So in that way, I love dialogue, but it artificially inflates the page count, and but I think it moves things along. I think it makes it zippy.
The pace is breezy. On this one, and you came in under 400 pages. You're at like 375 or something like that. And it's a well-paced book. Like it reads pretty easy. And and there is that, like, the example I always think of when we're talking about like a brick of text is the book Perfume by Patrick Suskind. And it's about a guy who's pretty much like isolated for the entirety of the book. So there's so much just descriptions of what's going on that there's almost no dialogue. And even though it's like 180 pages or something like that, man, that book takes fucking forever to get through. And it's great. It's great. I love the book, but it's hard to approach. But this book, I think that you manage pace pretty well, pretty much in everything I've read, but this one definitely feels very breezy and approachable.
I think sometimes it happens with the reset button in that one too, because once it resets the first time and you know it's going to do it again, your mind already says, well, I kind of know how much is left, because it has to stop where it started. So it's, I think that can that signal is good. Like when you read a Kindle and you know when it's going to be done, you read a book and you know how many pages are in front of you. So I think that can be helpful to know how not daunting it might be.
That's a good point.
When you start thinking or working on the next thing, the next novel or bunch of short stories, do you consciously try to do something different than the last thing you did, or do you say like, well, whatever I feel like doing? If it happens to be a little bit like the last thing, that's fine. If it's completely different, like how much do you worry about that?
I guess I don't really think about it. It's just if it's not just wish fulfillment or settling grudges or blatant fantasies, it's just whatever is interesting to me. It's kind of like your comic books. It would surprise me if you ever didn't write about the topics you write about. And I don't know if I'm sure that you could write a nice period piece about somebody coming out to America.
Oh man, I was looking forward to that.
No more than me.
Yeah. You'll never know what you could write really well.
I know.
Am I back?
You're back.
You're back.
You guys missed the least Tony McMillan thing I could come up with.
I'm dying.
You'll never hear it. You'll never hear it.
Son of a bitch. All right.
But suffice to say, it was. You could put that up, and then you could flick a button to do a negative image of it, and your face would appear. It was something that you would never write. It was so perfect. It was such a perfect analogy. Good job, me.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Wow.
But I do know what you're saying. Like, a lot of my favorite artists in general do have certain themes that they go back to, and I don't think it's some calculated thing. I think that's what they care about. That's what they obsess over. I do know, making comic books, I do get tired of drawing certain things. I'm like, I'm tired of drawing, spaceships. I want to draw, people in the real world, and the next will be that, and that informs it a little bit. But with your stuff, you've covered a lot of different genres, even though they're almost always kind of like squished together hybrid genres. So you kind of can do a lot. Like, I don't know how many books I would go, this is a straight this. I'm like, it's not really. It's just kind of your own weird take on everything. Do you think that's fair, or do you go, no, actually I view this is a straight noir. This is a straight this.
There was some conscious genre hopping at the beginning. Right? An attempt to
trying things on.
Yeah, let's try a zombie book. Let's try a Western. So I think you're right. There was an attempt to. It was, it's kind of like, I like those things. I'd like to try one kind of thing.
Right.
But now I'm kind of settling into what I like to write about, which is, that's another problem with marketing it. I don't know if people are going to, if the right readers are, I don't know if the readers are going to find it. Like, you guys are the perfect readers for this, but
so you're getting into your Hello Nasty phase of your career. you had some different, you tried certain things on, and now you're kind of like, putting it together. This is me. This is my own genre.
That is better than the example I used. Yes. Exactly. I feel like I probably won't venture out of it, even though I can't define it. It's a hybrid genre, like I think Rob said earlier. It's a hybrid of a lot of things. So any attempt to write something marketable is not working.
I think that there's themes in, and you can tell me I'm wrong, but I feel like there are some things that naturally manifest in the types of stories that, or in your style. I always feel like there's like it makes you think about what a person does and why, or like I don't know if I'm going to be able to properly explain what I'm talking about, but there's always like a not a breakdown, but it almost like it encourages an analysis of the motivations of your characters. And I don't know if that's just like some basic storytelling but it seems like it's very kind of common in the stuff that you write.
I think that's what Amy always calls when she reads the stuff that I write, she calls it the personal zeitgeist.
Yeah.
And it might be just the collateral damage of reading too many of my things, for Rob in particular, that you that you get the gist of I don't know, like you recognize it now, maybe. I don't think anybody else. There's very few people that have that problem. That affliction is not that widely known. But it's full of stuff that it's full of it has an ethos. Isn't that what she says in Videodrome? Max, it has an ethos. Is that right? What does she say?
That sounds about right. If it's not ethos, it's like it's not point of view. I think ethos is
philosophy.
Right. Yeah.
That's probably not accurate. Anyway, I see what you're saying.
Well, the beauty part is like with this whole interview, like any quote you get wrong from movie, it's right back to your book, Head Cleaner.
Exactly.
You know, honestly, your next book, you could just do a bootleg adaptation of a movie you like and just fuck it up.
Yeah.
Are you could do Black Sunday, the movie adaptation of the book that it was based on, but it's your version of it.
Isn't that what Stephen Graham Jones's Demon Theory is? Isn't it some sort of turducken like that?
Is it?
I haven't read it, but Rob read it.
I did read it. It's a movie. It's written as a movie trilogy. But I don't know if it's a specific. The person to talk to about that would be Jesse Lawrence, but I don't know if it has a specific like target in what it was doing, or if it was just him doing something in that kind of formula. But it is written. It's 3 separate parts, and each part is a movie in a trilogy.
You know,
speaking
of Jones, I was going to say he did a story which I thought was like a Dave James Keaton type of story, and it was in his collection. When the people lights go off, it's about werewolves, and the whole deal was like, like dog years, werewolf years are different. So if you turn into a werewolf, you come back to human, you might have aged if you stay a werewolf too long.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's fucking great. Like, and I was like, it feels like I don't know. It kind of felt like your thing a little bit, like a little bit of your vibe.
If we take a moment to do some Stephen Graham Jones love here. Every so often I'll read one of his things and I'm like, oh shit, like I should have done that. Have you guys read the Night of the Mannequins?
Yes.
No.
Oh my God.
So Tony, the opening of Night of the Mannequins, not only is this something where you're going to be like, oh, what a great idea. Like, I think it's kind of in our wheelhouse as well.
Mm-hmm.
So people are going to, these young people want to prank somebody. So they put a mannequin in a movie theater for their friend who's an usher to like come up upon and be like, oh, what the fuck is that? So they sit in the back row. They put the mannequin in the movie theater and sit in the back row and watch. And they see the usher come up and seemingly have a conversation with the person. And then the mannequin leaves. That's how the book starts. And then they're like, what the fuck was that? And then the rest of the book is it's almost, that's probably his loosest work. Like you can really get the feeling he's making it up as he goes.
Right.
But you're still in sure hands.
Yeah.
So what a great opening, right?
Oh my God. I think even on like the jacket copy, the way they describe the story, like that's why Well, I think I got an advanced copy from Tor maybe on that one, but like just reading that, I was like, I need to fucking read this right now because
So
it sounds amazing.
Is that a full length, or is that just a story?
No, it's tiny. It's basically a short. It's like a short story. It's supposed to be a novella, but I think I read it in like an hour.
That sounds
Hold
great.
on, let me pull it off the shelf.
Yeah, look, you're gonna get an idea.
Go to the library here.
like he did a story about a kid in a hoodie, and the hoodie would swallow things, like the sleeve, like if you did one of these.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, I could draw the shit out of that. Like I want to turn it into a comic book, you know? Like
it's on loan to somebody right now.
Wait, I might have it. Hold on.
This is a gimmick now. He's gonna come back with like a different book altogether.
It's pretty good selection you got behind you. What I can make out, it's pretty neat. Yeah.
This is I spent like the last 2 years just unloading books that were accumulating from like, advanced copies from publishers and stuff that accumulated over the years. So like this here is just mostly people that I've gotten books from and read in the last like probably decade.
So when you say ARC parties, like this is it.
This is the ARC party right here. Yeah.
Crazy.
I've got some gems. I think the real banger is my copy of Jones's The Elvis Room, which I think there was like 100 copies total made, and mine is 1 out of 100. So
that's very fun.
It's so teeny.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, you need to read that.
Sounds great. How old is it? Is it like an older one?
2018, I think.
Okay, cool.
18 or 19.
Very cool. Yeah, it sounds really
came out.
Fun.
I think it came out around the time of The Only Good Indians.
Gotcha.
2020.
Oh, 20.
Yeah.
2020.
I guess you're welcome, Steve. Here
it is next to.
Made a sale.
You ever watch those knife videos? Here it is next to a PM2.
Right. Nice
next to a ballet song. Did I freeze up?
No, you're good.
No, you're just talking about knives.
You guys want to see my new knife?
When you're selling someone else's book, it works fine.
Amy got me this one for Christmas. It's called the Chili Pepper.
It's pretty cute.
We should take it to Applebee's and be ironic about it.
How many knives do you think you own, Dave?
The knife box. I don't know if you can see that.
Knife box.
Did you taking your knives out?
Wait. Here's can you see this box?
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Oh, I saw you posted something. You had to have that exchange or something because there was a problem with the foam being imperfect.
Yeah, they cut the knife foam had holes in it, so the knives would fall at the bottom. But then they just sent me another one, and they said just keep the other one. You can have it, and I taped it up like it's workable. So, but who else is going to have? Who else wants it? I don't know. I can't. Somebody said they wanted it, and then they backed out. So I still have that piece of foam.
Maybe you let the kid play with it. I mean, that thing would be awesome, right? Like, take the knives out, maybe. I'm not going to tell you.
So that's what I thought. Like, that's a very good point. But for example, this is one of those, Balisong butterfly knives, but it's got a fake blade in it. See that?
Yeah.
So that you don't cut yourself. So this is a nice fidgety thing to sit around with when you're watching TV. That'll definitely freeze the fucking thing.
Yeah, it did.
It did. You've got the last internet connection.
Anyway, what I was saying was, so I thought, well, I could leave this sitting around because I have that foam is in a case that you can lock up so that child can't get to it. But this one, I thought I can play with this and I can leave it sitting on the armchair. And Amy was like, no, that's worse. So she said, it's much worse to leave that laying around because it's not real. And it normalizes that as an object that can't hurt you. So if she got used to flipping that around and playing with it, then maybe she'd play with knives thinking that they weren't dangerous. So
I follow that.
So I have this fake knife for no reason now.
You take razors to the fake knife.
I thought it was a childproof knife. And you think that it's not a very complicated lesson. You'd think I'd understand that that's why you don't have fake guns sitting around. I mean, it's pretty simple logic. And somehow I thought, well, what if we just had toy knives? Anyway, this is just that's another pandemic casualty is knife collecting. I had to do something.
Did you come up with a pandemic hobby that you didn't have before the pandemic?
Gaining weight.
Gaining weight.
No, I mean, not really. It's funny. I'm a father of a small kid, and I make comic books, and I have a real job, and I don't have a lot of time. So here's the only thing I start doing. I start drinking coffee. I used to not drink coffee, so now I drink a lot of coffee.
Me too. Okay,
that's great.
Yeah, I was doing sort of a poor man's Four Loko here. I got coffee and LaCroix.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that actually would be nice. I would do that.
Yeah. But yeah, coffee that's another pandemic casualty is my coffee intake.
Yeah, I started waking up. I was like, I need something to go, and now I take really quickly to like habits, and most of my habits are really innocuous and stuff. But coffee is now like if I don't have coffee every day, I get like a bad headache, and like it's pretty. I'm going to train spot brutal. Any second. Yeah.
What about you, Rob? Any pandemic hobbies that developed?
No. My journey was I got cancer, so that really took a chunk of the pandemic up. So I didn't really have the opportunity to like.
Well, wouldn't you say you beat cancer was your pandemic hobby? Was conquering cancer?
Fighting and beating cancer was definitely
that's better.
The hobby. But yeah, I didn't get to do like sourdough or anything because I was like being poisoned for months on end.
Right.
So we'll have to have another pandemic where I'm healthier.
Yeah.
You might get your wish. I don't know.
Yeah, a little monkeypox.
Oh god.
Little monkeypox so that Rob can get into model airplanes. What the fuck?
Yeah, work from home and start whittling or something.
I always thought it'd be kind of awesome to like hit 40 and get really into like a hard drug all of a sudden. Like
I can see how it happens though. Like just the coffee thing has made me think about would I be really good at being like a heroin addict if I'm so good at drinking coffee? I just never like maybe I'd be really good at it.
Well, the thing is, you would have the wisdom to know if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this the right way. Like I read the Keith Richards book, and he's like, "Yeah, I use the best heroin available, and that's why I'm still alive." I'm like, "Yeah, of course you got to do it the best way." It's like when I get ice cream, I don't get cheap ice cream. I get like a really fancy fucking. I'm going to be bad. I'm going to be bad, really good. So that's what you got to do.
Good. Is there good crack?
There's got to be some gelato crack out there.
It's called cocaine. Like
true. No shit.
Very true.
It's the yayo from Scarface.
There it is. It all comes together. Well, what version?
Right.
Jesus. I think that I would just be too tired to have like a drug addiction. Like,
yeah,
I'm in my mid 40s, and I'm just like, everything feels like it's more effort.
Well, you gotta pick the right drug, man. You might have like a bunch more energy all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, weed's legal in Illinois, and I dabbled in some like edibles and gummies and stuff, and
right.
I tried that. It didn't do anything. Did it? Gummies didn't do shit for me. What did it do for you?
Either they didn't do anything, or
they were
too effective. Where I was just like kind of like black, I couldn't function properly. I didn't find the sweet spot where it was just like I feel all right. But the best time for me,
crack, Rob.
Yeah, that's crack.
That's the sweet spot.
One of the street names is Sweet Spot.
Kind of that sweet spot.
Yeah. I had a similar thing. I did some edibles and like I was laughing. I was so goofy because I haven't smoked weed since I was a little kid. I'm not little. I was like 13, but not since then. So we watched like Pen 15 or some funny TV show, and I was like dying. I was like, oh man, like this two of these bears is like way too much. I gotta cut this bear up.
Yeah. I don't care to find my right dose. I've just kind of got tired of it. So
Four Loko brings me back down. I'm down with that. Dave, are you drinking coffee while you write, or is that a sacred thing? We don't do that.
Yeah, just writing, grading papers, getting moving. Pretty much just it's been a daily thing for a while.
Mm.
And only since the pandemic, I never drank coffee before. I would drink, if it was like a milkshake, if it was a coffee drink with a bunch of whipped cream and caramel, and like I'd drink those at work if somebody bought them.
Right.
But that was candy,
Right.
But now, I'll make a cup of coffee before I sit down to do, or just to like. I find that it just improves my mood.
Because you're addicted to it. That's how I imagine it for me. I'm like,
if they finally would just put a microphone in front of the right crackhead, it just improves my mood. I'm just so much happier with crack.
That's good.
Yeah, I like how I'm pretending like I'm the first one to notice these things. Coffee just makes me feel better. I'm so happy.
You're that guy that I won't mention by name, but goes onto social media and like 15 years after the fact is like, I'm watching The Wire. It's amazing.
Yeah, I do about 5 years later. That's my sweet spot, is to get into things about 5 years later.
No, yeah, it's definitely me. I always joke if a lead singer dies, I'm gonna get their album right then, and that'll be my new favorite band. I'll never see them live. It just happens.
Yeah, but it can only be if they die in a surprising or horrible way. Like David Bowie went out with such class. I don't think I'll ever listen to his last album because it was such a march to the grave. Like I don't know, but if he would have died in like some horrible accident, like a fucking snow plowed himself, like that guy did yesterday.
I knew you were gonna bring up Jeremy Renner. I knew it.
Like if David Bowie would have snow plowed himself, I would definitely have his last album.
Different snow.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Dude, if Bowie was on a snowplow, just a photo of that would just fucking change my whole world. Like, what?
Yeah, you can do it. What's that? There's that football player got hurt yesterday, and everybody's at half mast.
Yeah.
I wish I was still going. I wish I wasn't working from home right now so that I could call my boss and say,
"Can't come."
Sorry, but the injury to baby Diego has affected me way too much to go into work today. No, that sucks. That I'm sure that's
that'd be great. Just to try it, see what they do. Like what could you say to somebody if they're trying to be sincere about that? You're like, do I have to honor this? Like someone's
Dude, I have the exact situation happened at a video store where somebody tried to get out of a late fee. And they talked about some sickness in their family, and it was so embarrassing for everyone. And the guy comes up, he's like, "Oh, so sorry. We were hurrying up to get to the hospital, and blah blah blah." And I know that I was supposed to be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," but instead I was just like, "You're gonna use that isn't that tragedy mean more to you than $1?
Right?
Is it just $1 to you? Do they know that they're just $1 to you?" Anyway.
Well, and then you follow that person around town and they're like, everything they're doing, they're just currying sympathy off of that fucking bullshit.
Yeah, that's some Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like, I'm going to follow that person. They better go to a hospital.
Yeah. Like that time you followed the volunteer firefighter or whatever.
Yes. He said he wanted to know if I want my ass kicked. There's a correct answer to that question.
Oh, Jesus. That's funny.
That's hilarious.
So, would you read a book by someone about a video store that was never a clerk, or do you go, don't waste my time?
I probably wouldn't want to. I think it would be, that would be what he call stolen valor.
Yeah. Yeah.
You do want some evidence that they worked at a video store. You don't want to, because it's fun to hear about it. That's like the book Last Night at the Lobster, which was a huge influence on this book. I don't know if you guys ever read that one by O'Neill. No. It's the last night of a Red Lobster before they're going out of business, and they want to kind of, the manager's like, we're gonna do it by the numbers. We're not gonna slap, even though we could. We're gonna respect. And of course, the last night is where all grudges start to boil up. It's a really snowy day, and so there's barely any customers. It's a very small book. It's kind of Night of the Mannequin size. I'd highly recommend it. Like it's Red Lobster as a topic. You'd think it would be? Is it going to be too? It's like if somebody was to write about Taco Bell, you'd have to do it in a serious way because it's such a
right.
You've already inherently got the thing has already been minimized.
It's a punchline, yeah.
You got to take it seriously. So you could tell that the guy who wrote it spent some time at Red Lobster, and it comes through.
Nice.
It's a fun book. This is like the last night at the Blockbuster, which is not a Blockbuster. I see Blockbuster getting a lot of attention lately as far as nostalgia points. And if you worked in a video store in the 80s, man, or the 90s or the early 2000s, Blockbuster sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, I worked at Blockbuster for 7 years. Everyone hated me. All my friends worked at the actual video stores, like Casa Video in Tucson, called me video Nazi. I was like, I just got a job. I need, it's like, nah. And going to thrift stores for clothes, the most common uniform was a Blockbuster polo. There was just like so many throughout the whole store.
That's like in Clerks when he goes to Big Time Video or whatever. I'm gonna go to Big Choice or whatever.
Yeah,
and that's an interesting moment because he just wants a copy of the movie he wants, and that was the biggest problem when I worked at all these little video stores. We only had a couple copies of the big movies, so you're the asshole who's like, are you sure you don't want to watch Johnny Handsome instead? You're pushing your other shit on them because you don't have the movies that people want. And so there's something to be said for Blockbuster. They would always have the movie you wanted. Maybe they didn't have the fringe stuff, but you didn't want the fringe stuff. You just wanted to watch Under Siege. You just wanted to watch a copy of the big new movie. And
And I would definitely have customers come in who made it a point to go, I don't usually come here, but they're all out of it at Casa Video or whatever. And it's like, well, you have a membership. So, I mean, what are we doing? Come on. It's okay. I'm not going to tell your friends.
Shit, that's like when, me and my girlfriend are going to do a coffee run, and like the only thing that's open is Starbucks. And it's like, well, it's coffee.
Well, dude, so I live in Massachusetts. I live in Massachusetts, and I Dunkin' Donuts is a religion here. It's pretty terrifying. Yeah. And today I was listening to the audio book of Head Cleaner. I was out in the rain waiting for my windshield to get repaired, and I got desperate. I went to Dunkin' Donuts for the first time ever and got a coffee. And I sent a photo to my wife. It's like the transformation's complete, and she was gassed. And it didn't taste good, but I had this feeling. I was like, I understand these people now. I'm like, I get it. I'm one of them. I'm walking the streets, have my hoodie on. And I was like, oh, I need some sweatpants. I was like this close to just getting it. I've been here more than 10
So it wasn't
years.
good? I hear a lot about that coffee. What does it taste like?
No, it tastes terrible. Like, I don't get I just don't
It's like
understand
diner
it.
coffee?
Yeah, it's like diner. It's funny. It's like diner coffee that had heard about Starbucks, had tried it. And so they tried to make an approximation, and it didn't come off well. Yeah.
I feel like Dunkin' goes heavy on cream and sugar in a way that just takes all of the coffee flavor out of everything. So that's my impression.
I could see that. Yeah.
Like you're worried your hand is going to be sticky from holding the cup.
Yeah. No, that's pretty accurate. It was a real eye opener.
If the next time Rob comes out here and Tony's coming out here, we're going to make that happen.
I'm down.
There's a coffee shop down the street called the Ugly Mug, and they have a drink called the Donnie Darko, which is 3 espresso shots and this heavy cream, which sounds fatal.
Right.
But it tastes so good. And I'm not a big coffee freak or anything, but I know that that's good. Like
that sounds good.
I got one and I didn't even mix it up. Amy said later, I think you're supposed to mix it up, but I don't know. Are you supposed to mix those things up? Because it's black on the bottom and it's just white on the top. So when you drink it, the black goes through the white. And so by the time you're at the end of it, then it tastes like, I guess, like it's supposed to. But there's something about the black going through the white it was so much better when it wasn't mixed. And I don't know what the hell is going on with that, but it is good. And it's a nuclear reactor. When you drink that shit, you're just like, I can conquer the world.
Maybe
All
maybe
family
think
business will be settled today.
I have to I have to tell you about this coffee concoction. So there's a coffee shop that opened up recently in Chicago called The Brood, and it's a horror themed coffee shop.
Okay.
And so like their first signature drink that they made when they first opened up was called Firestarter, and it was like a coffee thing, but it had like cayenne pepper in it or something like that. So like they really lean into, like, you should check out their social media. It's fucking great. Like they have a TV by the booths that's just like an old CRT like cabinet style TV that just flickers the pumpkin like in Halloween 3.
Oh my god, a lot of kitsch factor going on at this place.
So kitsch. But I just fucking, they blew my mind one day because I'm at the counter and I'm ordering, whatever I was ordering, and I see a sign for a drink that's cold brew coffee and lemonade, and it's called a Leland Palmer. And I was like, fuck me, that is like the coolest thing.
That's like Readers of the Lost Ark. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like Readers of the Lost.
Well, here's my question: do they have a beverage called Cream Blackula Cream?
No, but
they don't have that. I don't know what they're doing.
They need a suggestion box, I think, is what they need. But
I'm thinking Gizmo Cocoa for the kids. There's all kinds of oh god.
Yeah. It's a cool place. It's horror themed. So
it's fun.
Nice. We probably should start wrapping up our chat.
Yeah.
Since it's
so
like
what are you
close
gonna,
to midnight.
You got a lot of material. Are you going to do like here's the extended version like you used to do with Booked?
Yeah, I think I'm going to there's really not much to edit like in this conversation. So it's probably going to go up almost like this on YouTube. It'll probably get podcasted out the same way.
Get all the crashes out. You probably drop 10, 12 minutes easy.
You got to do the thumbnail as like a silver Dave and then like a black and white Dave.
Oh yeah. That's what I'll do. I'll keep going in and like putting up different versions of it and see if anybody notices. Oh.
I don't know if Rob had this. Like if Tony ends up doing this show, Tony's gonna have to make some arcs. This is his new series, Creatures.
Nice.
This one's based on a certain. Tony likes to play fast and loose with intellectual properties.
Right.
So this might ring some bells. It's got a lot of shine on there, though.
Yeah, I'm continuing my John Carpenter love letter, which has become my adult life, pretty much.
Yeah. So what do you have to promote right now, Tony? I could go as far back as Nefarious Twit, but I don't know how commercially available that is right now.
Yeah, that's actually the one thing that's not available anymore. But yeah, I've done a bunch of stuff. But basically, I've really kind of pivoted to making comic books. I write and draw a lot of comic books. So Dave's been a big supporter, which is awesome. Dave reads most of my stuff, and I appreciate that. But the new comic book series I'm doing is called Serious Creatures. It's actually the second volume of it. So I did 6 issues a year or 2 years ago and collected those into one big collection. And now this is the next 6 issues, which will complete the whole story. And that's basically about a teenage special effects artist who's working in Hollywood in the 70s and 80s. And it's loosely based on the career of Rob Bottin, who did the effects for The Thing and RoboCop and The Howling. So
Nice.
basically it's like kind of like Boogie Nights, but it's about the Fangoria set. So that's my current thing. I've done 2 issues so far. The new run, the third one will be out next month, and that'll get me through to like the summertime, and then I'll collect those 6 issues, and that will be this giant friggin' saga, like the Goodfellas of ghoulish movies and stuff like that. So that's the current beast.
That sounds awesome.
It's so good, Rob. I'll send it to you next time I send you something. I've got. I had some doubles for my sister, but she moved, so I'll hook you up. But it's so good.
Awesome.
Earlier about that he's abandoned spaceships, et cetera. But I mean,
The praise. He cuts out on the praise. Like
he's doing it on he's doing it on purpose.
He's doing it on purpose. He did it with the pitch for what you could write. He's doing it with the praise.
It's pretty smart. Yeah.
What I was saying was that because you're writing about the special effects industry, it's a perfect loophole to have, that you don't abandon those things that you said you were sick of. Like, they're certainly in there because you can have these digressions, these fantasies, but also you still have that kinetic, crazy artwork of the special effects that are, woven all through it. So even though he hinted earlier that his story is more grounded and normal, it's certainly taken advantage of the same imagination that robots and his little Lumen guy. But I like this one the best. I liked that other stuff, but there's something about the subject matter, and there's something about the protagonist, who's clearly another Tony avatar. From what little I know about him, but
for better or for worse. Yeah, thanks, Dave.
Does that mean that like your life parallels Botine's, or are you putting more of you than him in it?
I think it's maybe more me than him, but I think similar. We're inverted, where he was very successful early on in his life, and I'm hoping that I'll be successful eventually near the end of my life at some point. We'll see, but
maybe that by doing this, you're sort of Dorian Gray in his ass, that he's sort of going, he's shriveling up while you take his power.
I'm fine with that. I mean, as long as I get out in the end, that's okay. Sorry, Rob Botine.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Well,
thanks,
maybe we'll have an episode where it's all the Tony's work up here, not David's books.
I'm totally fine. I'll send you a bunch of stuff. I got boxes of stuff, man. But that sounds great.
Awesome. 2.5 hours, I think, is a pretty decent conversation. Okay, so since this is about books that are coming out soon, let's just end it on, like, is there a book that is coming out in the near future or sometime in this year that you're really looking forward to, or an author in general, anything like that? Because I've been hit with like this conundrum of having done the Booked podcast for so long. I've built up like a larger and larger list of authors who, like, anything they put out, I'm going to read, to the point where, like, it's several books a month that I'm like, oh man, I got to get that one. I got to get that one. So I wonder if that's like, that's something that everybody goes through.
Not trying to kiss ass, but I did pre-order Head Cleaner. So I was very excited about this book coming out. So when it finally comes, I will probably be done with the audiobook, but I'll probably read it again.
Totally.
It's a different experience, I think.
That's awesome. I'm so behind on books that I'm looking forward. I've started Swamplandia, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that ends up. I know that's I'm 5 years late on that one. I told you 5 years is the sweet spot for me for being late on that. So I don't know. Did you guys read that? The Alligator Farm?
Who's that author again?
Russell?
Yeah.
Karen Russell?
No, I didn't. I knew it made a big splash when it came out.
It's great. I mean, she has a story that I think you guys would love, and it's kind of in Stephen Graham Jones territory. It's called Home for Girls Raised by Wolves. Home the Jesuit Home for Girls Raised by Wolves. Did I freeze?
No, you're good.
No. But yeah, it's an amazing short story where they find these wild sort of werewolf girls and make them normal in this school and teach them etiquette. It's one of those perfect short stories that you can tell there was a book worth of stuff put into a short story. So I've always wanted to read Swamplandia, which seems to have some of the similar tone to it, like point of view of young girls in like a wild situation. It's about this family growing up on an alligator farm, and it's great so far. But I'm only like 5 pages in, so it's going to take me a while to do it. So I'm looking forward to reading Swamplandia, which was nominated for a Pulitzer, didn't win. I think they might even have done that shit thing where there's no winner that year.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just a real slap in the face. Like, they decided that none of the nominees were good enough, or like, how do you even do that? Can you imagine an award doing that? We're sorry, but none of you are good enough.
Yeah, that sucks.
So it should have gotten a Pulitzer of the year. But then some friends of mine who really like that story, they're like, you're going to be disappointed in Swamplandia. It was too much hype. I don't see that so far. First chapter, and it was great. So maybe it turns to shit. I don't know. Looking forward to finding out.
Nice. Anything come to mind, Tony?
Oh, besides head cleaner,
You went with
Yeah.
code.
We forced him to read that early. We already
no, there's a bunch of comic books and stuff like that. I still have the Mountain Goats guys book from, I think it might be a year old now, but I think
the
Devil House,
the Devil House. Yeah, I got that too.
Yeah, and so I'm like, I gotta. I think I got that last Christmas. I gotta read it. Like, I really like his other stuff. So
that's like I'm playing catch up with shit. I've got Heat too. I got like a long time before it was released.
I'll see that one in 5 years.
Yeah, you'll see that.
Stephen Graham Jones doesn't he have a book coming out with a crowbar on the cover? I'm intrigued by that.
Don't Fear the Reaper. It's the follow up to My Heart is a Chainsaw.
I gotta go back and read a book.
Yeah, My Heart is a Chainsaw. That comes out in February. Yeah. Jones is killing it. That guy's.
I'm a big crowbar fan. I'm a big Stephen Graham Jones fan, but I also like crowbars. So it's
not a crowbar though. It's
fuck that.
What does a Reaper carry? Like what's
sickle?
the fucking
a crowbar?
Yeah.
Scythe. Yeah.
A crowbar. In medieval times, you had a fucking crowbar in case your buggy needed like some.
The door to take you to. That's a crowbar.
That's pretty cool. Is it to open a door? Jimmy a door because he's like deaf? That's kind of fun.
If
that's the case.
He's always carried a crowbar.
It's a
You're
Mandela
just seeing
effect.
it on a weird angle.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, a tire iron. Is that what they call it? He carries a tire iron.
Hey, thanks for joining and kicking off this experiment of a situation. I'm hoping that it builds momentum and it gets more people reading excellent books. So thanks for starting it off with me.
I had a blast. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks for picking my book. That's fun.
Man, I missed me some Keaton. I went back and
this was like the old days.
This is the salad days.
The salad days. The all or nothing days.
Yeah.